Hey Liam, when you think back to when you first hired Coach Camp, just what sort of stood out to you and why you wanted to hire him, and how has that sort of been borne out by how impressive the defense has been this year?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before where I was at Maine and he was at Boston College. We didn't know each other, but his brother was a UMass alum. But I didn't really know them that well. I'd heard of his family, more so because of his brothers that were high school coaches in Jersey. And then I went down to watch a practice at Boston College for staff development, and I just, was watching their practice and saw his style and the way that his players kind of responded to him. And then I watched their meetings, and I was like, oh, dude's pretty impressive, and just kind of kept his name and then linked up a few times randomly. And then he worked for Don Brown at Michigan, which was my college head coach. And so then there was a natural connection that was made. And so we kind of just stayed in touch, followed him over the years. And then when you looked at Green Bay last year, their run defense specifically, and how they played the run, how they played as a group, I really respected. And he made it hard coming here. He made it really hard. But it was very clear. I know some of his players in Green Bay at the time were hurting when he left, and that was a huge reason why he didn't really want to leave, was because of the relationship with the players. So his personality shows, right, in our defense and in the staff and the way that they kind of prepare, go through things. The people that he's worked with, you can see so much of what he's taken from those people and made his own. When you see a player walk in to the stadium with his face on his shirt, as Antonio did, it's kind of cool. He shows you that there's a relationship there, and he's done a great. He's a very passionate person, so it shows in his work. He pours into it, and the relationship piece is the main part that I've always respected and appreciated about camp. And you want the majority of your coaches to be that way, to be relational. And when you work in college a lot, you get that because you have them at your house a lot. You have them over. You're with recruits. You're with families, and you're able to relate in that way. And I think that's what you're seeing.
Were you practicing pads this week?
That's TBD. TBD.
You walk through today then?
Yeah. Walk through today. Normal Thursday practice tomorrow, that'll be our potential pads day. Will be tomorrow. We're just going to kind of see how things go today and where we are.
Cole Bishop and Jordan Poyer, the safeties for Buffalo. How have you seen the veteran in Jordan help Cole?
Jordan Poyer, man, I remember 2020. I think he was there when we were playing there, and they were damn good defense. Look, they've been running this similar defense since Coach McDermott's been there, and so they see all the quarters beaters, they see all the 3D beaters, they see all the quarter, half beaters, and Jordan Poyer's seen a lot of football, and he's played a ton of ball. I know he's a leader, he's a communicator back there, and then you see Bishop getting his hands on the ball, making plays, anticipating some of those concepts that they're used to seeing. And you can tell they do a lot of, pass offs and coverages, and the back end is pretty tied together. You can tell. They're number one in the pass defense for a reason. And I think those two guys are a big reason why.
When you watch James Cook, what stands out to you on film when you watch his abilities?
Elusive, slippery, elusive, smooth. He's just has a great feel for mid-zone, for the zone game, and being able to press combinations, and then just he has such a great feel. And then duo, if you collapse it all, he's fast enough to bounce it and go one-on-one with a corner that's got a crack replace, and he's fast enough to run around the edge and make that guy miss. The run against the Browns, that has been all over the place. It was ridiculous. They had two guys unblocked in the hole, and he just makes them both miss, and he's off to the races. And they use him a lot in the pass game as well. So he's a dual threat. He's one of those guys that fits in the same mold as your Bijans, your McCaffreys, those kind of guys. you've got to be on the screws with the matchup in the pass game, and we've got to be at our best clamp tackling this week.
That Carter Bradley's going to be a scout quarterback, bigger quarterback. How can he help you prepare for Josh Allen?
Yeah, just making sure that we extend some plays and just giving those guys a look of, like, all right, Carter's got a big arm. I mean, that ball can go anywhere on the field in some ways, so it's a great representation of there'll be examples of throwing on time and in rhythm in practice, and there'll also be some examples of, hey, Carter, hang on to this one, move around, find some lanes, run around and try to throw it somewhere down the field. And, just trying to give those guys as realistic of a look as you can. I mean, Nick will still get some reps and do what he's always done and done a great job. But Carter can do some of those things and be able to create a little bit off schedule that can help give those guys. I mean, I showed the team this morning some of those plays from Josh where he's got people draped all over him, stiff arming them, pump faking them, and he's a football player, man.
How much of a strain is what Josh Allen can do on a defense?
Yeah, I think it's the ultimate strain is what it is, right? Because you're dual threat. You have to defend the run and the pass every time the ball is snapped, right? It's not as if you can just tee off on a guy like that knowing, man, well, he can't really move, so you can just go play two-man or go do these things. Your rush plan has to be extremely dialed in. Your spy game has to be dialed in if you're going to do any of that stuff. Your zone coverage has got to make sure that you're giving eyes, obviously, on the quarterback at all times. And, look, when you have to account for the quarterback every play, we have a luxury of that as well in ways where quarterback can take off on you. It's hard to defend every blade of grass.
Harder for you, their tight ends, what they can do, but also the defense and how they defend the tight ends.
Yeah, both Kincaid and Knox are very good football players. Great in the past. They work their tails off in the run game, and they do a nice job of putting them in advantageous matchups in the run game. And they'll get heavy, they'll go jumbo, but still have those tight ends out there. So now you've got bigger people on the grass defensively, but they like to maybe spread it out and throw it. So they do a nice job of creating matchups for the tight ends, and they're good players. And there's a trust level you can tell between Josh and those guys. And, obviously we struggled a little bit against Bowers, who's, obviously a lot of people have struggled against him. But I do think that, some of where we're at now, with Antonio and with some of these different packages can help us continue to, defend bigger sets that way, but still have athleticism on the grass and be able to feel comfortable about stopping the run still. But that's the predicament that they put you in when you play with a lot of tight ends and you go heavier. Well, now, you're better against the run, but you're more susceptible against the pass. Vice versa, you play little against heavy people, big people, now you're susceptible against the run. So that's why you do it. That's why you see Sean McVay doing a lot in LA with 13 personnel and stuff. So, it definitely can create some mismatches.
You're going against the guy.
You referenced that 2020 meeting when you were with the Rams. How have the Bills in particular, how has that personnel group evolved to that same point? I mean, this was a group that, when they had Stephon Diggs, perhaps they were placing such an emphasis on the tight end.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, on the defensive side of the ball, you could argue, I don't want to say that they were built to try to stop Travis Kelce and the Chiefs, but it's a little bit lighter in terms of bodies.
Definitely, their linebacker core. When I was there, it was I think Edmonds and Milano. Right, Milano's still there, but obviously they've continued to emphasize athleticism with Bernard in there, and obviously Taron Johnson being that nickel position that. He's a damn good run defender when you're playing in 11 and you're staying in nickel, which they do, even to 12 personnel at times. So you can definitely tell within their scheme, they have personnel evolved, both on offense and defense, as you mentioned, because it was a little bit more geared towards when we played them in 2020, like the skill players and Josh and being able to do those things. Now you can see the evolution of, the run game, the physicality, that while also, if they can spread you out with Shakir and all those guys inside. So they've done a nice job. I've got a lot of respect for Sean McDermott and how they've continued to win regardless and evolve as a staff.
Took this job
Did you expect the success to come this quickly, or has it exceeded what you envisioned?
I think you try not to put too many expectations on it when you take the job. Like, I didn't sit here saying, I hope we win 8 or I hope we win 10 or, I didn't put many of those, I guess, labels on the job. When you get it, you're really just hoping to improve and to help players improve. You're hoping to obviously continue to elevate the standard and raise the bar. To say I assumed we would win 13 games when I took the job, like, I can't say that. But I think that I guess you could say we've I'm not going to say overachieved, but I think you can say that we've probably gotten a lot better in some ways. And so that you say, yeah, you've helped. You've done what you wanted to do, which was get better, which was improve, which was help individual players reach their potentials, right? Like, those are the goals that you have. And so I guess you could say we've reached some of those goals for sure.
How knowing Ray Davis's personal journey, how special is it for him?
Extremely special. Know Ray very well, know his whole story, his whole life, the background, the journey that it took to get where he's at now, and to see him have the success that he's had. It was no surprise, but it's an incredible story. Very mentally tough, very talented football player. I mean, he led the SEC in touchdowns that year in 23, and he just continues to get better. And you can tell how trusted he is there, how dynamic he's been in the return game, and then last week when he's the number one back, what that can look like. So they've got a really good punt, 1, 2, really 3 punch with those running backs back there. And Ray's a huge part of that. Very proud of Ray to be where he's at today.
The teams that have had success in Buffalo have really gotten after Josh Allen. So how big of a game is this for your front four?
Yeah, huge. Showed some of those examples this morning about, seeing Atlanta and even, just the teams that are able to create a rush with 4, and because you need to have eyes in the secondary on him as well, and some of the zones, and making sure that you're changing the picture back there for him and for those receivers and skill players. So huge test for those guys. I believe they'll be up for the challenge. Whether we have to rush with 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, we have got to impact and affect the quarterback in and out of the pocket.
What do you think has made Tune such a good short yardage guy for you guys this year, especially in the ball line?
Yeah, he's for a guy that obviously his thing coming out with speed, right? And he does a nice job, like, getting behind his pads, and being able, and he's rocked up for a smaller dude. And I know, like, we were looking at when I was in Tampa last year, like, we were looking at Ray Davis and looking at Bucky Irving and those guys, and then this year you kind of have I'm not going to call it the same type, but there's some similarities, right? Those compact backs, right, that can take a hit, but maybe you're not getting whacked every time you take a hit because they're compact, they're smaller, lower, center of gravity. They're able to kind of get in there and gain those short yardage, hard yards. And when he's feeling good and he's been healthy and stuff, like, obviously you guys have seen he's helped us. So we need to continue that. He's been so concerned about ball security. I'm like, dude, you got to stop running out in the open field with 2 hands on the rock, dude. Like, go be creative, man. Like, cover it up, lock it up when you're in traffic. But dude, you don't need to run with 2 hands on the ball all the time.
When you're driving in this morning, did you allow yourself to think for a second, hey, this is pretty cool? This is going to.
No, I'm pretty miz in the morning, so I'm not thinking of too many happy thoughts in the morning. No, but it is, it's cool to, coming into the team meeting this morning, right? Congratulating the team because we went through obviously the game a little bit on Sunday that we just had, and went through the players of the game and all that stuff. So we were able to, cheer for that and move on. And so, a ton has been accomplished, but you sit here and say that, well, you're here now, so you might as well. Nothing really does matter what we just did. Like, it really doesn't. It's whatever gets celebrated, no matter what, in a few weeks from here, whenever it ends, you're gonna be pissed off, or you're gonna be really happy for one person, one team, one organization is typically happy at the end of the season, and that's what is hard about this job and in this profession, but it's also what's exciting about it.
A lot of guys on the team, this is their first playoff experience. Just mentally, do you handle this week with those guys differently, or is it the same as usual?
Same as, man. Same as. That's what we talked about this morning, was 1-0 again this week. That's especially, you know, we're in the dance now, right? We're in the tournament, so it is. We got to go 1-0 each week. But taking it week in and week out, and, you know, I think that our players have done a nice job of you know, rising to the level of competition. And playing well in important games, right? And that no flinch, no blink mentality, the mindset to, you know, hey, we got to go take care of ourselves, go play our best football, put our best foot forward, and go compete our asses off and see what happens. You know, I think we got enough guys that have played in playoff atmosphere, that know what it takes, that know what it's about, that can help some of these younger guys maybe talk through it. But yeah, it may be a little faster. It may be a little, you know, more physical. A little, like guys might sustain blocks a little longer, and that's the difference. That is playoff football, and you know, we'll be ready.
Building off that ethos of the mentality, I am curious. Have you read Chopwood Carry Water?
I have not.
Okay.
No, I've heard about it. I mean, I've heard about it. I've seen obviously a lot of the notes on it, but no, I haven't read too much. I used to read more than I do now, and I probably need to get more into it. But with two little ones, it's pretty hard. So.
Thanks, Liam.
Thanks.